not with your wife, with the Lord. And it's almost anything you put your faith to, God's going to do it for you. He really will. And I want him to encourage you this morning in this area of giving that God has just been doing some good things. Give Chris Blesniak a God bless
you. Okay, real quick before I forget, in the seat back in front of you, there's a Connect card. And if you haven't been here before, I encourage you to fill it out and put it in the offering bucket before you leave, because we want to hear from you. We love you. And Pastor Marty does get every single one of these. I've seen them on his desk. And also, there's an offering envelope in the seat back in front of you. You can put your offering in there. If you're using a check, make it out to City Church. And you can also use a credit card. We encourage you to do so responsibly. All right. I just want to share with you real quick, guys. Pastor Marty's right. God has done a great work in my life, in my wife's life, and my whole family. And we've come so far. But there's an area that I struggled with for years, and that's giving. I've read about it. I've heard Pastor Marty teach about it, and I just didn't want to do it. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I was poor. Growing up as a kid, we didn't have much money. So whenever we did have money, the last thing I was going to do was give it away. I'm not going to come out of my pockets and give someone my money when that's all I got. But I realized if I was going to follow Jesus and I was going to serve him, that I'd have to obey all of his commands. And he tells us to give 10% to pay our tithe. And I struggled with that, so I started to mess around with it a little bit. One week I would tithe and give 10%, and then the next week I would come up with an excuse. I'd have every excuse in the world why I couldn't give to God. Maybe I had a bill that was late or something, whatever it was. I was like, nah, not this week, maybe next week. And it started to bother me. So I sat down with my wife and we talked about it. I said, man, if we're going to be disciples and we're going to follow Jesus, we really got to step out of faith and obey him, even when it's hard. So we started to tithe every single week. And the first thing we do is take out our tithe, our 10%, and we give it to God. And within a few months of doing that on a consistent basis, I got a raise at work. My wife got a raise at work. And as of today, our income has doubled. Yeah, praise the Lord. Yeah, so I encourage you all today to do that, to step out in faith and do something you've never done before. Give to God. You know, because there's not many things we can do to repay God for the great things he's done for us in our lives. But there's one thing we can do, and that's obey him. Because when we obey God, we show him that we love him and that we trust him. See, I want to share something real quick. It came to me while I was sitting there. There was a time in my life when I was in jail, and I made some horrible mistakes, and I got to a point where I wanted to commit suicide. I was so sad and so depressed that I wanted to die. But you know what? I went to God that day, and I asked him to come into my heart. And I trusted him with my life, and he came through for me. He restored my marriage, he restored my family. My whole life, he gave it back to me. But then I couldn't trust him. I can trust him with my life, but I can't trust him with my finances. So when I stepped out in faith, it really made me feel good that I was doing that I was trusting God and letting him know that I do love him and I do trust him with everything that I am. So I encourage you all today to do that. If you're having trouble, if you're like me and you're struggling with it, don't worry about it. God's got your back, man. Just give him what you owe, and I promise that he won't let you down. Come on now. I want you to take your offering and hold it up high. I want to pray for you. Each and every